Well, hello and welcome back, and thanks for coming back. Where are we? Up in the Taller Amphitheatre on a spectacality of a morning indeed. And of course, as the spring season approaches, which is not that far away, because we're right on the second day of January, imagine yourself sitting there and perhaps watching a bit of live music. Yeah, this could be that place for you. And of course, on top of that, you get to look at the fabulous views right out into the coastline and of course the blue Mediterranean Sea. This is the little park which surrounds the amphitheatre, and it's a beautiful place to come, by the way, just to sit and think of your plans for the year, shall we say. Wander around, plenty of benches where you can sit and admire that view, all the way as far as Coral Bay, down to Casonaga, down to Lower Clorica, and of course even as far as downtown Paphos if you start to look very, very carefully indeed. Come with Mr. Paul, we're going to go and sit in our normal little spot and have a chat, and I think today we'll talk about the cost of living on the island of Love, to give you guys some kind of idea of what will your bills be? How much is a tin of baked beans? Those kind of things. How does it compare to your motherland? Obviously, most people who watch are coming from the UK, but please drop in the comments. How much is a tin of baked beans? Heinz baked beans, that would be, obviously, if you're living in Germany. That's a little cafeteria, by the way, the Amphitheatre Cafe Bar, which, of course, at this time of year is not fully operational. But, of course, as the springtime comes and we crescendo into the summer, they'll be in there waiting. And there's a great view from sitting on their outside terrace, of course, over all of these treetops and rooftops, straight out into the blue Mediterranean Sea. And of course, a great big car park as well, by the way. So plenty of parking if you want to come and have a mosey around and enjoy some of its beauty and some of its spectacality, because it's a nice little area. And there's no doubt about it, a lot of money's been spent and quite a lot of thought has gone into it. Plenty of benches, and they've even got some picnic tables lying around, and that's where we're going now. And of course, a little area for the littlies, or perhaps even the oldies, to get on a slide or a carousel or two. Anyway, come with Mr. Paul. It's time to go and sit down and we'll chew the fat and discuss things like the cost of living in Cyprus. If you're thinking about perhaps relocating, or perhaps just coming out for a month or so, how much cash will you need to bring with you? Let's sit down. Nice little bench in the shade, and you can have a look at the view again, straight over the playground, over the rooftops. That is the blue Mediterranean Sea in the distance, and of course it is an absolutely fantastic day indeed. Let's get the camera set up and let's get it to do its little twirling, and then we'll have a chat. There you go. 2nd of January, new beginnings, a fantastic new year, 2025. Wow. I'd like to say a massive thank you to all of the guys that watch, all the people that wished us a happy new year. And we know that you will all have a spectacality of a year indeed. Nice hot latte coffee. Lovely, absolutely delicious. It's not cold this morning, but it's not warm, obviously. I mean, if you're a local like I am, obviously, it's around about 15 degrees. So, a little bit chilly by Cyprus standards, but the sun is shining. Everything's blue. I know you've noticed that. The sky was blue, the sea is blue. Mr. Paul is dressed head to toe in blue. So that must mean all that's missing is you. So come on, get yourself on a big bird or a canoe. Start paddling like crazy, or a bicycle, isn't it? Because Cyprus, Paphos, Marika and me, oh yeah, we're waiting, especially for you. And we are indeed, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of people coming to Paphos, and there's a lot of people hopefully are going to hook up with us, and we're going to have a fantastic year indeed. Sir Adrian, he's getting on a big bird. This is a gentleman I talked about a while now, who's going to relocate to Cyprus, and his family are going to follow him in the summer. He's coming back, he's taken the plunge, and there's no doubt about it, he's going to have a fantastic time. And the family, oh, they'll be getting excited. They will indeed. Yeah. And every single day, someone moves to Cyprus. Why do they move to Cyprus? They move to Cyprus because not only do we have a lot of blueness around, not only do we have a lot of sunshine, very relaxed lifestyle, but the cost of living is relatively, it's all relative, isn't it, you know, but relatively inexpensive compared to places like the UK, compared to Germany, compared to France, compared to Italy. It is a relatively affordable place to live. For example, a coffee, hot latte coffee. As you can see, it's not the smallest coffee in the world, not the biggest obviously, but that's a normal regular sized hot latte, and the average place that you will pay for a latte or a cappuccino, well, it could be, couldn't it, is around about €2.50 to €2.90. There are places that will charge you more, but the normal coffee shops that you're travelling around and you pass, if you pop in, you would expect to pay somewhere between €2.50 and €3 to make it simple for a hot latte. If you wanted a iced drink like a frappe with a little bit of cream on top of it, you're going to pay again somewhere between €2.50 and €3. Now, if you start adding caramels and all those kind of things, obviously the price will go up to $3.50 or so. But from what I hear and what I know, compared to the UK, that's pretty reasonable. If you want a cup of tea, yeah, obviously in a beaker, because that's quite popular, isn't it? A lot of people like cups of tea. They do, because especially British people, isn't it? Around about €2.50. So not bad when you go out on your little adventure first thing in the morning or late morning, depends on what time you got up. For example, on New Year's Day, lots of people didn't get up, did they? No. There we are. I mean, I had quite a late night, so I had a lie in as well. But today, back to normality, because the world has to start. So, other costs. If we talk about things like these, bad things, I know that, but a lot of people do buy them, don't they? So a packet of 5 Villiger export cigars is €6.50. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, can't you talk in pounds? Can't you talk in dollars? Those kind of things. It's very easy. A dollar, $1 is pretty much €1 for argument's sake. A British pound, well, okay, it fluctuates between €1.10, €1.15 to the pound, so it's about 90 pence. So €1 in pounds is about 90 pence. So you can do the maths pretty easy, or just call it 1 for 1 to make it simple, isn't it? It's very, very easy to work it all out. So, packet of Villiger cigars, €6.50. A packet of cigarettes, because a lot of people do smoke cigarettes. I know the world wants us to stop, and I know that we all should, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people who don't. So, in the UK, the average pack of a cigarette, so I'm told, from the cheaper brands to the more expensive brands, I'm losing my English today, there we are around about 13 to 14 pounds, yeah. So, for argument's sake, we'll call that €15. A packet of cigarettes in Cyprus ranges from €4.50 to €5.20. And these are the top brands like Davidoff and Marlboro, those kind of things. So that means that it is 1/3 cheaper, not that I'm saying that you should, but it is 1/3 cheaper to smoke in Cyprus. So there you go. So you can save all that money on cigarettes and then go and spend it on beachwear, sun lotion, and get down to the blue Mediterranean Sea. If you go to the supermarket, now I have a bit of an argument with Marika about the cost of food. I mean, I find, in my opinion, and I know it's not, but it's much, much cheaper, in my opinion, to actually eat out, as long as you don't go to the greatest restaurants in the world. But if you go to an average taverna, just off the beaten track, shall we say in Clorica, in Paya, in Tala, if you went out and, let's say, had a chicken souvlaki, a pork souvlaki, what's that here, you ask me? Well, that is skewers of pork or skewers of chicken. So generally you'll get 2 skewers with about 6 pieces of pork, 6 pieces of chicken on them. You'll get chips or rice, perhaps if that's what you want, and then some salad on quite a good portion on a big plate, normally. And normally you can get it, the further you go in, maybe it'll drop down to about 9 to 10 euros. But on average, where you are frequenting, so Paya, Coral Bay, Tala, Casonaga, Clorica, Masoi, Mandrea, in and around Paphos, I think you get the idea. you're probably going to pay around about 12 euros. Obviously the prices go up the closer you get to the main events, which is the Kerpaphos Promenade and the harbour area. But again, in some of the extremities, the back streets, shall we say, you can again find it probably between 10 and 12 euros. And there are takeaways that do it in a pita bread from around about 5 to 6 euros. So not bad, pretty cheap. I mean, I was talking about fish and chips not that long ago, and obviously I've been in Cyprus 16 years now, and the price of fish and chips in Cyprus, you know, British style fish and chips, there are a couple of British themed and British owned fish and chip shops in Cyprus. A couple of them are in Paya, and then there are one or two themed around, perhaps not British owned, but do very, very good fish and chips. So fish and chips, regular size, with the normal chips, is going to cost you in the regions of 10 to 12 euros. Now, my memory takes me back 16 years ago, and I was thinking, you know, that seems quite expensive, but you know, it's a British thing, perhaps you want it, and they've had to bring it to Cyprus, and perhaps they don't sell that much of it, but they do. So, yeah, okay. But then of course people started to drop in the comments that in the UK, okay, there are places where perhaps you can get that bargain fish and chips, but in general, it's around about 10 to 12 pounds per portion. So that means actually in Cyprus, it's actually a little bit cheaper to buy British based fish and chips. So there you go. If you're missing that certain something from the UK, which often people say is fish and chips, isn't it? Or a pint of bitter, those kind of things. You can get them in Cyprus and you're not going to pay through the nose for them. There we go, you see. Now, many things, when you go to the supermarket, you'll find are more expensive. I find crisps quite expensive, but I like crisps. And when I say quite expensive, we're talking a pack of 10 crisps, so plain ones or salt and vinegar ones, cheese and onion, whatever your favourite is, maybe a prawn cocktail. Ugh. But I know people do like prawn cocktail, don't they? So they are around about now €7.50 for 10 packs, which I think is relatively expensive, until someone pointed out to me that the pack of crisps in Cyprus is 45 grams, and in general the pack of crisps in the UK is 27 grams. So that means that the Cyprus packet of crisps is almost twice the size. Now I know people are going to say they can go to Costco and those places and buy them cheaper, but obviously in Cyprus you can go and find those kind of places and buy them cheaper. But I mean, if you just go into the supermarket, into the local shop, the kiosk, so 10 packets of crisps, around about €7.50. But bear in mind that those crisps are almost twice the size of a standard pack of Walker's crisps. In Cyprus they're called Lay's, same company. When you see the packet you understand, yeah. So I'm talking about Walker's crisps. We're not talking about some own brand, shall we say. Now you can go to the Lidl supermarket and buy their crisps, little tiddly packets, aren't they? But you can buy them and they're pretty cheap, yeah. So, when you start to put things into perspective, doesn't it? I think what happens with people like myself, expats, who've lived in a country for 10, 15, 20 or more years in some cases, they look back with rose-tinted glasses and remember the price of something that they used to buy, but they forget that it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And it's something that comes to us as we start to get older, isn't it? Or something we reminisce about, isn't it, at the end of the day? So in general, I believe, it's only my opinion, obviously people may disagree with me, but I believe that it is probably somewhere around 25 to 30% cheaper to feed yourself, to liquefy yourself and to smoke yourself to death in Cyprus. And these are the things that people are buying on a daily basis. So these are the things that they really, really relate to, isn't it? Like the cost of benzene, fuel, petrol, diesel. It's actually a little bit cheaper in Cyprus than it is in the UK. Currently it's €1.40-ish for a litre of petrol and about £1.45 for diesel. So again, we're talking about £1.25, £1.30 to buy a litre of fuel. And fuel prices are always going up and down, aren't they? And various people are talking about this problem and that problem. At the end of the day, it's the governments. They're taking somewhere in the regions of 90% in tax. Tax on tax on tax on tax. And they always blame the petroleum companies, or they blame the world economy, these kind of things. Not actually true. But anyway, that's another subject. If you want to hear Paul rants about the idiocy of politics, drop in the comments and we can have a right good laugh. I don't take politics seriously. What can I say? Yeah, anywhere in the world, there's someone in charge, and yeah, don't start me off, because politics, yeah. And it's one of those things that people argue over all the time. I don't argue that, I just sort of see the joke inside politics. At the moment, you know, they're trying to get us to switch over to electric cars, aren't they? But politicians themselves don't drive around electric cars. I would have thought you should lead by example, but politicians don't think that way, do they? Because they understand that in 5 years, of course, they won't be in power. They'll be now in the shadows, still milking the system. But anyway, we'll come back to that subject. Let's have a slurp. Back to Cyprus, back to the cost of living in Cyprus. The biggest cost of living in Cyprus, obviously, is your bills, isn't it, wherever you are. So most people probably are going to come and dabble their tootsies in coming to live in Cyprus. So they probably won't go out and buy a property. They'll go and rent a property for a certain period of time, and then may rent that property for the rest of their life, which is quite common in Cyprus. You know, a lot of people came to Cyprus, rented somewhere for 3 months while they looked around and perused and thought, oh, I quite like that one, quite like that one. Then something else popped up. Who knows? They went back to the UK for a month, family problems or whatever it was. Then they came back, started to look again, and then slowly but surely they just didn't buy a property and they ended up renting. And they may have moved a few times over 10, 15, 20 years, but they rent, and that's the point I'm coming to. So there's one of your biggest bills, isn't it? Renting that property. But of course, the cash that you liquefied from your own property in your home country, you've either kept or you've kept the property. So that counteracts it, doesn't it? But anyway, if you were going to rent a 1-bedroom, half-decent, nice apartment somewhere on the fringes of Paphos, so Paya, Tala, Clorica, Kisonaga, Mandrea, Masoi, all within, should we say, 5 to 10 minutes of the centre of Paphos, and say 15 minutes to go to Paphos Promenade and Harbour. What will you pay? Well, for a nice 1-bedroom apartment in a nice complex, you are going to pay somewhere between 600 and 800, and I'm being quite generous. You can find somewhere cheaper that's half decent. If you wanted a 2-bedroom apartment, you're probably going to be now 800 to 1200. There's the span. Obviously in the middle is a sweet spot, probably around about 900 to 1000. Let's say that's not big enough. So you want a 3-bedroom villa, not the greatest villa in the world, but a nice 3-bedroom house with a swimming pool and parking, let's say, for a car or two. Today, you're looking at around about 1500. Again, we'll span it out a bit to 2000 euros. So somewhere around 1800 euros, you're going to find a nice place. If you want something wow, well, you're going to pay 2,500-ish a month, which to me sounds like a lot of money, but obviously to you that might not. Depends on where you're coming from, and it depends on your income, doesn't it? It depends on how you are, should we say, subsidising that rent. If you're renting a property that you own in London, and let's say you're getting 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a month for it, well, why not go and rent that superstar property at 2,500, 3,000, 4,000, because you're still quids in. So there's your rent taken care of. But most people, isn't it? Most people are coming out and they'll rent a 2-bedroom apartment, a 2-bedroom townhouse, or a humble 3-bedroom villa. So the bill for your rent is going to be somewhere between, shall we say, if you're very, very lucky, 600, but normality, say 800 for a 2-bedroom apartment, 1,000-ish for a 2-bedroom townhouse, 1,500-ish for a 3-bedroom villa. So affordable figures compared to other places in mainland Europe, shall we say, and the UK. Bills. what bills do you get? Well, water obviously, electricity, telephone, internet, communications, and your rates, should we call it. So your water bill across the board now, I'm talking, obviously you've got a swimming pool, it's going to go up a little bit. If you're showering 10 times a day, it's going to go up a little bit. But normal people living in a 2 to 3 bedroom property are going to pay somewhere around about €200 for the year for their water. That's what you're going to pay. Your water bill comes every 3 months and it's issued by the municipality, so the area where you live. So that bill will arrive. And my bill every 3 months is around about €70. So there you go. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Your rates bill comes from the same organisation, obviously, and our rates bill, and most people's rates bill in and around Paphos, are somewhere around about €200. What does that cover? So 200 to 250. Slight differences here and there. Pretty much immaterial of the property size, by the way. That's another little important point. It's a figure based on the property rather than the property size. So let's call it €250. What do you get? Well, the infrastructure that is provided by the municipality, so street lights and roads and these kind of things, and parks like this, isn't it? And your rubbish collection. Now, I remember when I was in the UK, 16 years ago, and it's got worse, I know that. There was huge animosity towards the councils on rubbish collection days, and you had to split this up and this up and this up, and then this bin went out that day and then that bin went out that day, and then next month they changed it and they'd send you a letter out. And well, I tell you, the collection service where I was from was called Recycle with Michael, and I think everyone wanted to kill Michael, that was for sure. But anyway, hopefully he's still alive. Rubbish collection in Cyprus is in that fee of around about 200 to 250 euros, and they take everything. No popping it in this bin, popping it in that bin. You put it in your bins, you put it outside your bins, you put some scrap cars outside, everything they take away. And I'm dying. And they thank you. Yeah, so not a bad place to live, is it? Not bad at all. Electricity, that's your biggest bill. Well, after your rent, it's your biggest bill. Your electricity bill comes every 2 months and it keeps on punching you straight in the mouth. Immaterial of where you live, how big it is, the electricity bill in Cyprus, us locals call it our biggest bill. And our electricity bill for our 3-bedroom property is around about €150 per month, I'm going to say, 150 per month. And it fluctuates quite a lot. Obviously in the summer it goes up, in the winter it goes down. But if I say 150 to 200 euros per month, that would be pretty fair. Although in the summer we can get a bill as high as 800 for those 2 months. But of course in the winter we can get a bill as low as 200 euros a month. So it works itself out. 150, 200 euros per month, as long as you're not living in a palace and as long as you're not lighting it up like a Christmas tree. So I would say that a couple, immaterial of age, that come to live in Cyprus, who go out to eat, let's say they go out 3 times, 4 times a week, perhaps they go out for lunch, perhaps they go out for evening meal, perhaps they go out for Sunday lunch, and they go out for a couple of drinks a couple of nights a week as well. So they're having quite a nice lifestyle. They live in a nice 2-bedroom apartment on the fringes of downtown Paphos, shall we say. They have a nice little run around car, so they've got to insure that obviously and put some petrol in it, not that they're doing a huge mileage. Paying their bills, buying their food, comfortably will survive on 2,000 euros. That's what I would say, yeah. And remember, in there is that rent of around about 800. So they've got 1,200 euros a month left. And I would say that they would be able to go out whenever they thought about it, go and have a couple of pints and a couple of glasses of wine 2 or 3 times a week. And at the end of the month, they'd find, yeah, there you go. 2,000 euros was just about enough. If you've got 2,500 euros a month, there we go. you're laughing all the way to the bank. You won't have any problems whatsoever. Some weeks you might go out that extra night. Some days you might, I don't know, drive to Limassol and back and treat yourself or your partner in your crimes to something like an extra hot latte. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to say thanks for watching. If you like what you see, please hit the like, smash that subscribe. Please don't forget to keep on coming back for that little bit more of my insanity as I talk to you and then even take you on my travels now and again. If you would like to get involved in the Marika Lounge Bar, for those of you that follow the channel, you know it's going to open up on the 15th of March 2025. And last night, 2 other people said that they booked to come for the grand opening. We thank you very, very much indeed. Sir Paul of the Jones, he's coming as well. We'll have to come up with some special barrel of a cocktail for him because he does like to have a little drinky poos or 2. So massive, massive thank you to you guys. But if you'd like to get involved in it, perhaps get your name on the Wall of Fame, on the Hollywood staircase, like all of these people I have mentioned are doing, you can go and hunt us down on PayPal. Look up the magic words Paul G Cyprus. That's P-A-U-L-G-E-E, Cyprus. Up will come my face, up will come Marika's face. As we say, a massive thank you to you guys for helping us to make reality and open the Marika and Me Lounge Bar. All it costs you is £50 to get your name on that wall. And of course, a lot of people are going to read it as they go up and down the Hollywood staircase. Great, great place for memories to be made in the Marika and Me Lounge Bar. You can also buy a star on our groovy, groovy ceiling. Yes, Lady Dizzy Blonde. Or perhaps have your name on a little plaque on our bar. And it's a big bar, so there's plenty of room for an awful lot of names. To buy a brick, £50. To have a swinging star on the groovy ceiling, £100. And to have your name on the bar, only £150. Please make your purchase via PayPal, and we do thank you very, very much indeed. And if you'd like to give me a nice hot latte coffee, hunt us down on the Buy Me a Coffee platform. Google these magic words, Marika and Me, Buy Me a Coffee. Up will come our landing page. You can read a little bit more about us and, of course, a comment or 2. And we all like to read the comments, don't we? And I'd like to say a massive, massive thank you to Baroness Lillian, that's the Baroness of the Crackpot, and Baron Frank for this hot latte. Cheers. Thanks very much. I'm going to leave you with a view, and it is a fabulous, fabulous view. There's no doubt about that, from the Tala Amphitheatre. And there's plenty of places here for you to come and sit, walk around and peruse while you enjoy the beauty and the spectacality of the area known as Tala in Paphos on the island of love. And yes, Ali, there's that bus. Happy New Year.